Wayne is talking about AI in environmental consulting business. And unfortunately, Wayne is not going to be live, but we have a recorded session that we are going to play. But if you have any questions, you can let us know, and we will make sure that Wayne addresses your questions when he gets them or in the next session. So that'll be for live questions. Anybody, if you have any questions, just type them in and I'll send them to Wayne. And he will either answer them next week on the live session, or he can uh, email you the answers. I see that Alicia is here from Clover, Virginia. I'm sorry, it's Culver, Virginia. Okay, awesome. So we will get started with our session. And this is a this will be a replay recorded session that we're going to show you. Alicia says, "Hi, Mark. How are you?" Yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Alicia. How about yourself? Hope you are doing well. And hope you enjoy this session that we are going to show you today. And this is going to be a replay of one of our previous sessions. And something some of you might have seen, and if you have seen, I'm sure this is going to be fun the second time. And if you haven't seen it, then you'll definitely surely enjoy this. So just hold on a second and we'll show you a replay. So everybody, this is our Talk with Wayne session. I see a bunch of you out there, so thank you so much for joining our Talk with Wayne. And um, this is a replay because Wayne isn't able to get on today, but I'm sure you'll enjoy this previous recorded session. And if you have questions, we'll answer them, or I'll send your questions to Wayne and he'll answer them on our next session. So let's get started. What's the title? This is the same series, uh, the same topic. So AI for environmental consulting, and this one is from one of the. This one is uh, the first webinar that he did on this topic. So if you haven't seen this, you'll surely enjoy this. And if you have seen this before, this will still be good the second time. So let's get started.
Hey everybody, how are y'all doing out there? This is Wayne and Mark. I'm looking sideways here because I'm going to use 3 different monitors today. This is really going to be fancy. I've got um, my camera over this way. That looks much better. And I'm going to use my screen to project on. And then I'm going to use another screen to read a script on, which is really bizarre that I do because I don't read scripts very often. But I'm going to because I'm going to do a start of a course today that will last for the next 10 weeks. And it'll be on a cool topic. And I think it'll be very helpful for all of you. And again, it's mainly being done for the recording purposes of it. So obviously, it's important to have you as a live audience, and I want you to interact. But I'm also going to be talking mainly to an audience that it'll be interacting as they're watching it in recording and on a course perspective. And again, this is the first of 10 sessions that we'll do. Mark, how you doing? How's the day today in Bangladesh?
Doing great, Wayne. It's another hot day for us. We're in the 90s already.
Yeah, it seems like it's hot, that's for sure. Is the band back
Yep.
together? Did you find yourself another person yet?
Yes, we got a couple of new members, but we haven't been rehearsing together. So we have to get together. Probably it will take some time because our festivals are coming up. So probably we'll get together uh after the 20th. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, before I get going on this, what has been now a surprise to you topic, because I haven't told you yet what it's going to be, we have a couple really cool sessions coming up. One tomorrow and one next week. Mark knows the date specifically. What date next week, Mark? And I'll tell you who's when, or Mark can tell you. Mark, why don't you tell the audience, tell everybody what our next 2 guests are going to be in the next week.
Okay, so next guest is tomorrow. Colin is going to be on tomorrow at 2. And next week we have Aaron Ra, and he's quite popular. He's got presence on social media. He's going to be on the 20th, also at 2 p.m. Mountain.
So you'll have me on both today and next Thursday, and Colin tomorrow, and Aaron a week from tomorrow. So 4 sessions. Be very cool. So I am going to share my screen. The very cool looking presentation that I have, which isn't what you see now yet, but you will be seeing it in a second. I'm gonna move this over here. minimize this, show this, but I'm going to put it in the slideshow mode. And isn't that cool looking, Mark?
Wow, yes, it is.
For the first page of a presentation, which is entitled Practical AI, Artificial Intelligence for Environmental Consulting. And that could also be environmental and ecological consulting. Frankly, it could be any kind of consulting, honestly, which could include accounting, legal, you name it. There'll be some specific topics that we talk about over the next 10 weeks that are environmental. And this is intended for professionals. And when we go to sell this and put all the sessions together, professionals in the environmental and ecological industry that are in consulting and have trying to figure out, how do I use this weird thing, AI, in my business to give me some value. 10 weeks, we're going to talk about that. So this is one way you use it, specific. I have this slide presentation, which is going to be very cool. You're going to see done entirely AI. Now, I came in and edited it a little. Plus, I edited the AI had actually had put this welcome and this little 6 to 8 minutes and this, they were all too close to the first words in the description, and I changed that. But honestly, the changes were minuscule. It would have taken me hours to make this up prior to AI. This is an AI image. The first one was, now here's a guy sitting in his screen looking at something that's talking about AI and environmental, ecological things over on the left. Very, very cool. So I'm glad you're here with us today on this session, because you're watching it either live or as we're recording and it's a replay. And today's the first section in this course, and it's designed to help environmental professionals understand how artificial intelligence can be used in real consulting work, in practical, and I'm going to use 3 words a lot, ethical and valuable ways. So for those of you who have joined me on Talk with Wayne before, you know that I've been doing this for a long time. So pretty much every Thursday, probably at least 45 Thursdays a year at the same time slot. And our anniversary of 10 years on June 6th is coming up not that long from now, in June this year. Over that time, we've explored lots of changes in business, technology, ecology, entrepreneurism, professional life. But I've got to tell you, and I do really believe this isn't just something that I'm saying here, that I believe AI is probably the most important force for business change that I've seen in the environmental consulting world in my lifetime. And I'm going to talk about some of the other things that have happened, but that is a reality. So, we're not starting with shiny tools. We're starting with how work gets done. We'll talk about the shiny tools later. We're not replacing professional judgment with AI. We're just extending it. And we are aiming for a real thoughtful adoption, not reckless automation. So a little timeline here, and this just relates to me. This is kind of my lens on where we're at in the world right now with AI. I have lived through a lot of things in my business career, but let's talk about just the things that are related to how we manage information. Back in the 60s and 70s, when I was an undergraduate, was in high school, even in the 60s, and in college in that time frame, in the early 70s and graduate school after that, we were analog. I've told the story. The move towards digitization for me only started in my PhD program in 1975. Other than that, everything I did to analyze all the data that I collected and anything that I was doing from an analytical perspective, managing the work that I did was done analog. Everything was written, everything was analyzed by a calculator and pad and paper and doing analog different applications in that time frame. In the late 70s, mainframes started to come in existence, and I would, for my PhD work, I would have punch cards that would be made on specialized punch card typewriters that would make the cards. I did it. I didn't have a helper that did it for me. I had thousands of them, and you'd put them together in a box, in a line in a box, and they were in order that they needed to be, because you would then take that box over to the computing center at the University of Idaho, walk it across campus, and you would deliver it to the person that was at the front desk of the computer center. They would then take it back and put it into this computer, which, again, as it says here, was the size of a truck. They'd process it through the computer, and you would then come back a week later, or because there's no way they could send it to you. There was no internet, and they couldn't send you something by some device. We didn't have them. And we'd pick up the information, and it'd be on paper that kind of looked like, pulling something up here, that kind of looked like these paper towels here that you're going to see in a second. Here's that was like this. It was corrugated and would fold from page to page. So picture that these are the pages of paper, and there would be a stack of them, and you could have them go apart like this, and they'd go all the way down, and be a foot of it laying on the floor. That was the way that the computers worked. And so it was still really helpful, because it replaced having to do all that work by hand and in a very analog fashion. So that was the late 70s. In 1978, when I was now a college professor, I bought my first digital personal computer. And it was with a loan that we got, an SBA, Small Business Administration loan, to fund the first of our business, ATC. And we thought we'd use most of it to buy laboratory equipment, and we bought a lot of laboratory equipment, but the largest portion of what we spent from that loan was on this brand new personal computing system where we could have something like a laptop, much bigger and more bulky and harder to use, that you'd have in the office with you, so you didn't have to use these computer centers any longer. At the university that I was at, I still did use that method of taking those cards to a place, but I got more into where I was doing it on these computers right in the office. Okay, another 10 years forward, and that's when the internet began. And I, pretty vividly remember the internet in 1998 in this house, in not this office. I had my office up in our barn building, which is behind me here. And I had an office there too. But we would do a lot more of our work on computers by that time. And I was involved in something called Sportsnet, which was 49 others or 50 of us in it, and the system to and buy and sell sports memorabilia. And by the way, when that comes on, Mark, does it say your internet connection is unstable on my screen? Did that kick across when I was showing that? Or do you,
No,
do you
we don't
see
see
it?
that. No, we don't see it.
Okay, cool. So that's what occurred in the late 80s, 88, 89, 90. By the time the company there, S-Tech and the Eric Group, we had much more portable computing. Everybody had at the desk, and we were communicating with other offices around our own office much more by the same kind that we'd use today. Still not nearly as powerful. So then it's interesting. I struggled a little bit because I think there was a little more of a gap there. I guess it seems to me things happened a little more quickly during that 80s and 90s time frame. But 10 years later or so is when social media came into play. And social media might have really started in the 90s to a certain extent. But really, it was the 2000s when social media became in our lives and started to become important for us. Probably had less impact on environmental salt things that preceded it that I've talked about here. But still, it was important. It was a way we communicated. We all created pages on Facebook and Twitter and social and YouTubes to create YouTube video. We would use telling people about our information and education. And that's improving over time and continues till today. Which led for knowledge to become more distributed and honestly gave the alternative to traditional education as we've known it for thousands of years, really, and learning about things, and that we didn't have to have a school environment. It allowed the beginning of things like the EAT community and other things that were previously only done in these people, maybe even some places where it was far away from your home to do your education. By the way, you don't hear it, you're disturbed by it, but I do, which is that I have so many phone calls coming in because of this funding that I'm doing for various different businesses right now. And it's happening on my cell phone, which is sitting right in front of me and doesn't ring really, but it just makes this little that is distracting. So now let's move us up till the last 5 years, because it was really through or maybe the fall to 2022 when AI became more visible and useful with the initiation of these large language models like ChatGPT. And it was OpenAI and ChatGPT. And I remember early on, the most recent that it provided you data for was like November. It was, the system is in the spring of 22, and it said the most recent your data could be is September or October of 21. So anything you wanted that was, new information. And we did webinars where we would talk about the environmental events of the day, and we couldn't use ChatGPT to tell us anything about it because its data wasn't that up to date. And honestly, even ChatGPT sort of moved to one of their later numbers in their development and began to have data that was literally up to date and to the minute, so that if we did a search right now and there was something that happened in the world 5 minutes ago or immediately before we did the search and it was out there, we would find it. So anyway, that brings us up to now. And as I said before, I believe that AI will become the most important driver of business change in environmental consulting or generally consulting in my lifetime. So it'll be one of those things that compared to all these the world, bring life. The biggest one will be last 5 years of AI. Just keep getting that message. Your internet is unstable. Well, how's it going to do that? Now we're going to switch to the next slide here. And make knowledge broadly available to everyone. So it's going to be that tool that allows all participate in the knowledge work at an unbelievably fast speed. It's going to compress time. So now let's just take it to specifically environmental consulting. Whenever you're drafting something, whenever you're summarizing something, you're reorganizing data, you're brainstorming, and then ultimately revising. It can happen in minutes instead of hours. So the first thing it's going to do, and it is already doing, is it compresses time. Secondly, it widens access. Capabilities that once were limited to specialists are now becoming available to general professionals that have good judgment. You don't have to be a specific GPS expert or groundwater drilling expert. You can become an amazingly good professional getting instructed in real time, right now, by AI. And then it's going to change expectations on the part of our clients. Clients and firms will increasingly, they're going to expect more fast synthesis of their information, and then they're going to expect clearer communication and more responsiveness. So it's going to make us better. We're going to do a better job because of what AI is going to force us to do. So this is going to be a little time, again, a framework of where it fits in all different aspects. And it's a life cycle thing. It's not just one task. So again, it'll first start to be used in the initial research phase. And then how do we scope and decide what work to do, right? Then it's going to be helpful in the field or at a site or really on the project location to prep for preparation. The next thing it's going to be involved in is the analysis and framing. Okay. We'll talk more about that in a lot of the other sessions. And then it's going to be involved in reports and anything that you have as a deliverable. It's going to be involved in proposals for more work that we would do after all that those first four activities were completed. And then finally, it's going to govern project management and learning. It can add value just about everywhere, but really the value is highest when it's paired, and I said this before, with the right context, the right judgment, and the right quality control. So it doesn't just add convenience, it really resets our baseline. I'll give you an example. There was a time when any consulting businesses, lawyers, doctors who were really consultants also, accountants, environmental, could operate without email. Can you even think about that now? Could you even visualize operating without email? Now it's a standard. There was a time when a business could operate without a website. And actually, I think businesses still can. But websites are standard now. And there was a time when social media was optional. And now it's almost necessary and a part of the visibility. AI is going to do the same thing. It's going to move in that direction. Right now, I would say most people still treat it as an experiment. Increasingly, though, it's becoming a practical business tool. And once a tool starts helping people produce faster information and results, write better, organize better, and think through problems more effectively, it's not going to stay optional very long. So, I've said this in other sessions, but I'm going to say it a lot more. That doesn't mean that every AI output is good. It's certainly not. It doesn't mean you should trust it blindly. You absolutely should not. It doesn't mean that human expertise no longer matters. In fact, I would argue it's just the opposite. I think the more that we use AI, the more valuable that good judgment becomes. And environmental consulting, and really any kind of consulting, is a field where judgment matters, context matters, experience matters, regulatory nuance matters, site-specific conditions matter, client relationships matter. AI doesn't replace any of those things. It's a powerful assistant, but that's all it is. So think of it this way. It's not an environmental consultant. It's not a project manager. It's not the regulator. It's not an expert witness. It's not a client relationship builder. If it's used right, it can be a multiplier for all those things. So I said it before, it can help you think faster, draft faster, summarize faster, organize faster, brainstorm faster, prepare better, and communicate more clearly. So you've got to ask, why now? Why is this happening? Well, it's because the tools have reached a level where the average professionals can use them without being programmers. That's the big deal. Go to the next slide here. And again, a lot of duplication here because that's what this really means. Without having specialized knowledge, you can create research summaries. You don't have to be a good writer. You can be a pretty average writer and create a very quick report. It really helps with better language for proposals or agendas. Again, in minutes, I created this presentation. Mark, isn't this a pretty excellent set of slides?
Yes.
With amazingly little work, right? I mean, they're just beautifully done, really well done. I mean, again, I have no idea, how it knows to put next to all this data, these pictures of somebody working on a chart here that was done by hand, okay? Where these lines are written on the page here, and the whole says AI up here, which the intent is to show you don't have to do these things by hand. Template creation, it's always good to have templates for whatever. It makes it quicker, repeatable, easier. Training people, training junior people in what it is that you're doing. Partnering in thought. Mark and I have been doing more and more partnering as we work through things and new projects and new areas. And then marketing is probably where it's a little more obvious. We're going to talk a little bit more in a minute about just what it does well, and then, where it doesn't so well and why people still matter. talked a lot about these before, but one thing I want to just reiterate in more detail is one of the things it really does well is idea generation, allows you to come up with things. And I'm a somewhat visual person, so I've been using it a lot, and you'll see this in some of our future sessions, to draw pictures for me, to show me how some tool can be used visually when I wouldn't think about it using it that way otherwise. That's a huge benefit. So, and these different points that you see made here, what it really does well is it reorganizes information quickly. It generates first drafts and alternatives and allows you to make changes, summarizes long materials, changes tone and format fast, and helps people think through options. It's interesting. It makes mistakes, by the way. And there's a pretty big one that it made here on this page that I don't know that you'd call it a mistake, but it's a little weird in what it did. And Mark, can you see it? What did it do here that I didn't catch as I was editing these slides? You see it? You see what it did wrong?
Okay, I think the dots in
Yeah, it put way
okay.
too many dots. Like
Yes.
why are these dots in between the rows of information? I mean, it doesn't look weird because it's the same. It's everywhere here and it's everywhere over here. If like this side would have not had these intermediate dots here and this side did, then it would look a little strange. But because of the way it did it, it actually could be right. Could be that's the way that you wanted it to be, but I doubt it. I think it just added these dots and then decided to spread the information up and make it broader, it makes it look nicer. It's not too jumbled on the page. But now let's change back to the top again. Where do people still matter most? It's not going to verify facts and sources for you. You have to do that yourself. You got to do that on your own. Okay. So you have to have caution. It's not going to make legal or technical judgments right. It'll do it, it'll make them, but you've got to be really careful in just accepting them. It's really not going to do well with local context and anything that's political. It will give opinions, but they're not necessarily at all meaningful. It doesn't know your clients, and so it's not going to build any kind of client relationship or trust. So you got to really be careful about that. And then finally, it's not going to take responsibility for the final answer of whatever it is that you're trying to generate an answer for. So you need to be really careful about all those. So it's ethics, professional judgment, and then anything specifically related to your clients. It's a tool. Do not surrender your professional mind to it. Okay. Let me say that again. It's a tool. Don't surrender your professional mind to it. All right, now let's talk about some opportunities. And these are the big ones. We'll talk about some smaller ones later. And they're here kind of in a little bit of a drawing format. And here's one of the things I think people are going to want to do with it, and this is going to be a mistake, is they're going to try to jump from number one over here, personal experimentation, all the way to number 4, workflows. And they're going to skip prompts, repeatable prompts, and the ways you use it right to get here. You can't do that. You still got to use this the right way, and we'll talk this through. So that means the first thing you better always have in your mind is be ready to make it experimental, try things, and don't worry if it doesn't give you the right information the first time. Do it over and over again until it does do it right for you. And don't accept mediocrity. Don't accept wrong ever. If you know it gave you something wrong, don't let it convince you that it maybe is right. Try to come up with repeatable prompts. All right. So I think you all know what this means, but what is a prompt? A prompt is whatever information that you give an AI system that allows it to then give you information. So the prompt is how you teach it, how you tell it to do what it does. If you make prompts that are repeatable, one, you'll save more time, and two, you'll make it more consistent in the results that it'll give you. Share with your team. Don't just try to do it on your own. If you're working in a team, share in a team situation. Share what you've done and what's worked for you, the do's and the don'ts, and what things that you should and shouldn't do. Be more of a team player with what you're using it. One of the things it does that's very best work with is something that's recurring. So if a reporting from a meeting is important, I've used it more and more every day on email. Reed, one of my assistants and that you've heard me just talk about, has been on webinars, tells me that I get 1,600 to 2,000 emails a day. Well, I only see now maybe as few as 50 of them because it gets rid of those others that are absolutely not things I should be wasting any time with. I'm getting to where it's going to start doing most of my scheduling for me. And, using things like Calendly that we've been using for years now are going to become more and more the norm. You're not going to have to worry about your own scheduling. You're going to use AI to do your scheduling for you. So again, use those 5 steps and use them for making sure that your workflow works out well. We're going to get to this 5 rules for responsible use in a little more detail here, but let's talk about these big opportunities I was mentioning. And they're really broad, and we'll talk more specifically in the future about them. The first is, again, I mentioned it earlier, but more detail, greater efficiency. Many professionals spend way too much time doing things from scratch. AI can reduce the blank page syndrome and speed up first draft outlines, summaries, and documents. Use it for those purposes. It'll make your communication better. A lot of tech professionals know more than they can easily explain. We're not always the best of talkers. We've got more in our heads than we can properly communicate. AI can help bridge that. Our clarity, our tone, and our organization. It's going to make us better communicators and faster in the way we communicate. It's really about senior expertise. So the people most knowledge in it are going to be able to get that information that have less to people that have less knowledge in a much more easily communicated fashion. So that's going to be really valuable. And then it's going to have more leverage for small firms and solo professionals. I've been for the last many years now. So it will give us some great advantages. So we talked about it. Here are sort of some things you got to worry about. One, what are the sort of 5 rules of responsible use? And what are the things that you've got to worry about? Let's broadly talk, and then we'll go through these 5. 1, worry about what's the term, Mark, that's used that creates mistakes with AI? Starts with an H.
I can't think of it now.
Hallucinations. It hallucinates.
Hallucination. Okay, there you
Makes
go.
things up. And it doesn't care about facts at all. So it makes factual errors. It wants you to trust it and really over it. So you got to be careful. Here's a real big one. It's not confidential for most of the big large language models. There are, and we'll talk about specific the different ones that are out there. OpenAI with ChatGPT and Anthropic with Claude and Meta with their system, with Grok, and Google with Gemini. And it again, each one of them thinks it's better than the other, and they really are competing with each other. So, and some of them have more confidentiality, others do. They all could potentially use it for other purposes. So don't sensitive information into tools you don't trust, ever. Treat AI as a draft, never the final answer. Check facts, assumptions, calculations, and citations, always. Keep your professional judgment in the loop, always. Use AI to improve service, not to cut corners. These are all really important things. So again, the reasons is it hallucinates, it creates factual errors. You can overtrust it. You don't want to do that. It has no confidentiality. I mean, there are some that do some of these models, but I would just overall, until they all do it, just assume none of them have any confidentiality at all. And essentially, they all risk a loss of any authentic expertise. It could be completely inauthentic. And that's going to create for you, as the one providing the information, ethical and reputational issues. You don't want that. Test carefully, verify important content, protect sensitive information, keep the human review central, always do it, and use AI to enhance judgment, not replace it. Yeah, my phone just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing. All right. Now, here's just kind of going just about exactly the length I wanted it. I wanted to have 15 minutes or questions and just general broad talk. The end of the presentation will actually be at when we finish this slide and the last little bit here. So the whole idea here is to suggest a starting mindset. And here's what a lot of people are asking. Can AI do my job? That's not the question. Don't that. A better question is, where does AI help me job clearly, more clear, strategic? That's the frame of thought to have. And so here's 4 starting. And so we're still here at number 1. These are the 10 different sessions we're going to have that follow here. 4 questions that we should all ask. Where do I spend too much time in repetitive thinking or drafting? Where do I spend too much time in repetitive thinking or drafting? That's where you should use AI, either of those. Getting from rough ideas to organized communication. Where do me and my firm have knowledge that's not well captured or reused? And where could in clarity to create more value for my clients? This is where AI shows value. And I would say you should look at it in steps. So there's going to be stages that you should use. Let's make the first personal productivity. Get better on things you do yourself. Mark, what am I doing yesterday and the other? What am I challenging you guys to do? To use it to get better.
Yes.
And what do I
Use it
say?
well.
Don't worry about it making mistakes. Just know to
Correct.
make sure to look for it.
Yep.
Second thing it's going to do that you want to use it for is professional workflow. It is way better than we are as humans at repeatable work like proposals, meeting summaries, drafts, so on. Use it for that. If you're in a big team, some of you are, use it to support training and creating systems, capture knowledge, create shared templates. That's the best way to use it. Not all at once, not perfectly, but progressively. All right. So let's bring this all together, and I'll do it right after this. I'll show you the next slide. But here are the other 9 sessions we're going to do, and there'll be guest speakers for probably 3 of these 10. Today we've talked about what it is, what's it doing to shift the whole world of consulting. And next time we're going to talk about AI foundations. What are those things? And mainly we're going to get real specific with individual tools. We'll spend a whole session on prompting with purpose. We'll do a session on smarter research and technical support. By the way, none of these are all just AI related. These are going to teach you to be better professionals if you operate in a consulting sort of mode. And then a whole session on writing better reports and creating deliverables. A whole session on proposals, scopes, and business development. How do you use it to help you sell better? A whole session on project management and internal efficiency. A whole session on design support and professional judgment. A session on ethics, risk, confidentiality, and quality control. And then kind of put it all together for building your own practice. Any of you who have speakers that you'd like to see on with us, tell them about this, tell them why, or have them come to some of our recorded. Now, we're going to have a homework assignment. Okay, I haven't done this that often. Here's what I want you to do before the next session. This is going to be easier for you that are taking this actually as the course that we create from it, because we will be creating a course where it's 10 hours of information. We break apart into 20-minute sessions and so on. Pick one recurring you have, just one. You can do more, but just one for your homework assignment. Could be think of it as a research summary. Meet reporting drafts, proposal language. Again, it's something that's recurring, something you do a lot. Internal training, client communication. Pick one. Don't choose something that's kind of critical to whatever you do in your business. Pick something that's useful and really low risk. Okay, so it's easy. Do one experiment. Ask AI to help you with that task in a small, contained way. Notice what comes back quickly, what sounds generic, and what still by your judgment. And capture the prompt, because I want you to share it with all of us. Again, you're going to be going through this course at the same time, and I want you to do this. Okay. Pick a recurring task, run one AI experiment, and then back next week, the next discussion we have. So once we get this course done and it's out there, and there are all of the sessions that are done live, recorded, then as we teach this course, the whole course to people, we'll have individual Q&A sessions during the week. So if you're watching this as a course right now, you're going to be able to come back with that story. Looks like one of our audience today, though, has raised their hand. So Mark, why don't you tell me what Alicia has said? We have time now. We're in that Q&A process anyway. I think I've just got one more slide here, which is questions and discussion. That's the thing, again, I'm most excited about. This just put together such a great visual for the presentation. No way I could have done it this well. All
Yeah,
right, we are open for questions.
And the prevailing winds during the critical
Oh,
wind
yeah,
erosion
what the
period
heck is
come
that?
from the west
oh, that's
or from
Alicia.
the left.
Mute her. Okay.
Don't think we care about prevailing winds right now.
Yeah, if
Is there-
Alicia has anything related to AI, let us know.
So her comments are not related to AI.
Yes,
Okay,
she's
Well,
commenting. Yeah.
well, go ahead. Just tell us what some of the comments are.
All right. So she has questions. That says explain nature-based solutions to conservation.
Whoa, do not play, Mark, turn her off in the background, all right? Please. It's still there.
Again, just muted her. I think she's unmuting herself, so in that case I have to remove her. So if she unmutes herself, so I gotta remove her. Anyway, I muted her. So so explain the syntropic farming, managing wind.
I don't have the
explain-
explanation. Yeah, it's a great question, but haven't thought about that. Do not know what that is. Don't bring up anything, Mark, that would, I'm not going to be able to.
Yeah.
This, again, this is very specific for what we're doing here. So, all right. In this last slide, you can see where, AI is creating value, I hope. I'd like you to think about what feels exciting about it, what feels risky, and what do you want to learn next? Be thinking about that. A program that go off of this slide for. I think I can do that pretty easily. I think I just hit escape. There we go. And minimize the screen. Bring back this screen. I'm going to show you one of the programs, apps that has been created, to utilize a broad array of models, which we'll be talking about next week. It's called ACE44. The free version. I do not have the free version, I have the paid version. It'll a lot of the same things. One is it'll beautiful drawings. So I'm not sure exactly. There's the caption, "Leave a legacy at the ranch." Well, this is a depiction of the mountains, same area where Dennis finished up his life. He was not in a house like this one. It was in an earth home built on the side of a hill. But this is a pretty good picture of that. So these are images that I'm going to use in LinkedIn posts that I'm doing. I've not used LinkedIn that much through my last 5 or 6 years. And I put 2 posts up, no, 3. I'm on the 3rd day of posts. I did one Tuesday, one yesterday, and one today. And I have amazingly have more reach because of it. And these were all done by my super agent, Wilma, who I created, and that's my mom's name. And this is part of my dialogue you're seeing with Wilma. And one of the things that she was helping me with was putting together a series of posts for LinkedIn. So she helped me create the first week's worth, which is what I'm doing right now. And then here's examples of ones that she's going to help me with for next week, posting 4 times. And again, this is the perfect way to be using AI. Well, another way is through apps. And here is an app that I created This is called TerraRoll, and it's a way to look at, for some reason it turned it off for a minute and it's coming back. My internet, which should be just ridiculously fast, is not very fast today. Come on back here. It makes these names up, but it does a great job creating a name. This is one where the intent is to help track prospects for funding this roll up that I'm doing, which is buying environmental companies. This is not real data in here. These were it was made to be put in it as I could start doing it. But so these are the intent is to give me a repeatable way to be connecting with people that I've been talking to. So these are names, and each one of these have their own description of where they get placed. So there's prospects. So these are potential companies that I'd be looking to buy. And here's what's the name, where's it located, what do they do, phase 1 and phase 2. Where am I at in the process? I don't have to make up it. I can choose whether they're a prospect, whether they're contacted in due diligence, whether an offer's been made, so on. How many employees do they have? What's their annual revenues? Who's the key contact? What's their email? What's the phone number? Where they're at, what they do. What's the next question to get what do I want from them? What's the next date? And so then you can update that, cancel it. In this case, these are not real. So I'm ultimately going to cancel. I just made this yesterday. It took 30 seconds. Here's the prompt that I used. And Wilma created this prompt for me. Build a CRM. So that's contact result management, or that's an acronym that's used for lots of little names that work for it. But for an environmental consulting roll-up business with 2 sections, acquisition prospects and investors. Acquisition prospects should have fields for company name, location, specialty, blah, 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 all these things. And it actually gave me more. And investors should have names for the name, the organization, email, and all these things. And let's look back at the investors now. So here is investors. Here's Robert Callahan. Green, there's all his info. What has he done? What stage? Okay, what type? Either an angel, a family office, a impact fund, venture capitalist, strategic, or other. No, and I can change these real easily if I wanted to, very quickly. What's the amount? Can go up and down with just dollar at a time. When did I last contact them? There's a calendar. It shows you the calendar. You don't have to guess at anything. And little information. What's the next step? What's the next action date? Calendar again. And then update, change it if I want to. So this is one that I just had made. Let's look at one other one.
So everybody, today we're going to wrap up our presentation right here. We're at the top of the hour, so thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thanks to Alicia and Robert. You have a lot of comments in the comment section, so we will get answers for you. So these are great questions, and I see great information, links and such, resources and things like that. So all these will be answered. Next time we'll have these. We'll have the documents, the downloads of this chat. and then have Wayne answer them live. Or you can ask your question live on the next session. Also, next Wednesday, we have a guest. So he's going to be Andrew, and with the RVs. Andrew, he is in the electric vehicles, so EVs, electric vehicle business, and that is going to be next Wednesday on the 20th. And it's going to be real early, 10 Mountain Time. So those of you who are interested, make sure that you show up, and this is going to be fun. I will send you an email for email to remind you when the next live session will be. So thanks again, everybody. Have great rest of your day.